Hey, what is up mortals? It is Davy Wavy, here with a new video for you. Welcome to part 2 of What If Himawari Was Older? I just wanted to greet you guys by just saying, sit back and relax, you're in for a treat. So, we begin. For a shinobi, the day rarely started with just sunrise. As far as they knew, they were never not ninja, constantly having to act for more than just their own sake. It meant there were things they needed to do for the bettering of their own home. One of these things, perhaps the most important, was getting stronger. Every shinobi got stronger in their own way, some of them faster than others, but each one progressing further every day. On this morning, a young shinobi with black hair and blue eyes stood in a dojo. She seemed to be in a fighting stance, her hands outstretched in different directions of her diagonally placed body. One hand forward, slightly bent with her open palm pointed upwards. Meanwhile, the second was behind her, palm open and fingers flexed pointing down. This was our heroine, Himawari Uzumaki. Across from her was an older lady. Her facial features were similar yet distinctly different. Her hair was brown and long, contrasting with our young ninja. This lady looked to be in a similar stance, her hands stretched the same way. Though she seemed to be more relaxed and confident, everything about it betrayed the experience that was obtained through time. The two fighters waited for the other one to move, because the moment either of them moved, the other would move as well. It was the taller lady that moved first. She took a step and almost blitzed Himawari. Her body had done a full rotation, her right hand picking up a wild amount of momentum as it came to land a blow. With a wild look of what seemed like fear and embarrassment, Himawari squeaked and leaned back to avoid the blow. Though her movements were not nearly as graceful, and this caused her to go too far and land on her butt. Sure, she successfully avoided the attack, but she also ate dirt. So, was it really worth it? Before she could even try to get up, her opponent had placed a hand in front of her, and Himawari gratefully took it. When she was on her feet, she started dusting herself off. Though it only took her a second to bounce back into her usual happy demeanor. Her eyes shined as she looked at her opponent. "Wow, you're so cool, Auntie Hanabi." Hanabi Hyuga, who loved getting praised, just ate up all the compliments. There was a happy smile on her face. "That's right, my little Hina." The two of them had been training, Hanabi acting as a teacher to the younger ninja. After a second more of talking to each other, the two of them would return to their original positions. Himawari would stretch out her hands once again, falling into the stance. She looked up at Hanabi, whose eyes were sharp as they inspected everything about her student. It was only a few seconds before she spoke. "You know, any other Hyuga would activate their Byakugan as a first instinct in a fight." On her side of the room, Himawari seemed embarrassed, but Hanabi waved off her worries. Don't worry, you'll grow used to it. Most Hyuga clan members have had these eyes since birth. You are special. You are still new to these abilities." Himawari nodded her head, softly taking a deep breath, and closed her eyes. When she opened them again, her eyes were completely white and the veins on her face were bulging. Off to the side, Hanabi clapped moderately. The two shinobi took up their stances and started their spar once again. Though, once again, in a few seconds Himawari had landed on her butt. But after that she got back up and tried again. After a few hours, both ladies had tired themselves out. But like any other shinobi, they'd gotten stronger and completed part of their purpose. Himawari specifically felt proud of this. Unlike most of her mother's family, her eyes hadn't been with her since birth. This meant that whereas the rest of her family had started learning the family techniques at a young age, she had needed to start later and catch up. Regardless, Himawari had been trying her hardest ever since she was able, and one day she would master the gentle fist like the rest of her family had done before her. By noon, Himawari was rushing through the streets of the Hidden Leaf Village. She had spent too much time with her private training, and now she was running late to a meeting with her team. Things like this usually happened for her since she tended to lean towards being clumsier than average. In a few minutes she had reached the training grounds of the Hidden Leaf Village. As you would expect, the rest of her team was already there, each one with a different look, from Sarada's annoyance to Mitsuki's indifference. Himawari landed and took a second to catch her breath, but not a second after, the other lady on the team was on her case.
Darn it, Himawari! Why are you never on time? We've been waiting here for an hour, and Konohamaru-sensei won't tell us why he called us here until you showed up.
This was usually how things went when she showed up late, which was most days. Himawari could only clap her hands together and bow apologetically.
I'm super sorry, I got caught up with stuff.
Before Sarada could start going off on her again, their teacher interrupted. The taller man had a smile that also made him look a little dead on the inside. And considering how often those two butted heads on exclusively small matters, he probably was. To properly distract them, he pulled a few papers out of a scroll he'd stashed in his pocket. At first he hadn't let the kids see what the papers really were, but still waved them in front of them, giving them the urge to see what the papers really were. Oh? Maybe if you two stopped fighting, you could finally hear the news. That seemed to work, making Sarada stop pushing on Himawari and causing said girl to stop apologizing. Their eyes were glued onto the papers, only acknowledging their teacher with their peripheral visions in which they did their best to ignore his pouty and annoyed face. Well, team, the Chunin exams are coming up, and me being the cool and likable sensei, I've decided to ask for permission slips for Team 7. Off to the side, Mitsuki was looking somewhere between confused and interested, his stretchy hand having snuck over and snatched one of the papers. When Konohamaru realized, he turned to Mitsuki to complain, but this only caused him to lose the other papers as Sarada and Himawari snatched one for themselves, much to the chagrin of poor old Konohamaru. At that point, all he could do was sigh and roll his eyes. Just discuss between you three. I'll give you to the end of the week to decide if you're participating. But if you decide to, all three of you must agree. This is an all or nothing kind of thing. After that, the young Jonin gave a small wave and disappeared in a small puff of smoke. The three genin were left to their choice. At this point, they were strong ninja, each one considered a genius in their own ways. But all any one of them had to do was think of their parents, and they would start feeling a lot weaker. Of course, they were only children, but they were the children of some of the strongest ninja of all time. Greatness was expected of them. Himawari was the first one to speak.
Guys, maybe we shouldn't...
Shut it right there! So interrupted Sarada, stomping up to her teammate and giving her a tense look.
I am going to be the next Hokage, and the first step to that is entirely acing the Chunin exams.
Mitsuki seemed to try and alleviate the one-sided fight that would surely break out. He held his hands up and stepped in between the two shinobi.
Himawari, you're the last person that needs to worry. Your father is the Hokage, and so was your grandfather. Someone like you who is destined to be Hokage will surely not struggle with such an exam.
Oh, shut up, you! Was Sarada's retort. This clearly didn't make the salty Uchiha any less happy. She crossed her arms over her chest and pouted, looking away from Mitsuki. On her side, Himawari still looked uncertain and perhaps a little sad.
I'll have to think about it.
After the team had talked, they decided to give it time. They'd reconvene at the end of the week and make the choice. After that, all the members of the team split and went their separate ways. Back in her home, Himawari would spend the rest of her day contemplating her future. And if maybe Mitsuki was correct, would she have to walk the same path as her father? A long, long distance away, all the way in the land of lightning, a fight was occurring. Large explosions blowing parts of the sea away and spraying it into mist. Two distinctly inhuman figures flew through the air, chasing down a large aquatic beast. In this case, the word beast was quite literal. 8 enormous tentacles, each of them covered in suction cups from base to tip. The large tentacles seemed to be flexing with hidden power. However, these tentacles weren't really connected to a cephalopod as they usually would be. Instead, the base is connected to a large, almost humanoid body with a curved hunchback like a bison. Its head was something between a sheep and a ram, with curved horns. The large beast of 8 tails swam across the waters at high speeds despite its large size. Yet its two pursuers didn't seem fazed, keeping up at what seemed to be a low-effort flight. One of them, which was far bigger and burlier than the other, seemed to be the one doing most of the work. Both of the aggressors had nearly translucent white skin and hair. The bigger one would hold his hands out. From his fingertips, vibrant red energy would emerge and swirl, condensing and building upon itself and becoming solid. The red energy would shine dangerously, which would paint the night sky in a dangerous tint of red. The energy coalesced before becoming large constructs. Suddenly they became large warhammers, which the large aggressors wielded. The giant beast seemed scared, recoiling as it noticed the attack. From its mouth, energy coalesced as well. It spiraled in on itself and cemented into a black ball which exudes energy. The ball was large, nearly 15 feet in radius. Yet that ball later condensed, becoming less than a quarter its original size. Not even a second later, this ball shot off like a bullet, aiming at the two floating figures with white skin. The ball flew rapidly, causing a sonic boom as it traversed the air. The two aggressors seemed unfazed, especially as the smaller of the two floated forth and set his right hand forwards. From his palm, an eye opened, with black rippling lines spreading outwards from the pupil. The attack from the beast would come into contact, impacting against the open palm. Yet there was no pain from the aggressor. The attack swirled as it impacted the hand, slowly collapsing in on itself and becoming a whirlpool. The large, imposing attack from this huge beast was stopped with no effort. And as it slowly dispersed, the truth was obvious. The attack had been absorbed. In this moment, the taller man with white skin flew forwards. More of the red energy crowded around him. He flew towards the beast, spinning and clocking it right across the face with one of his large hammers. The simple attack had left the beast recoiling and stumbling back against the rocks. Then the aggressor sent another attack, spiking the beast downwards with another hammer hit. The beast of 8 tails had failed to hold off their attacks. The red balls of energy which flew around the large man suddenly grew, turning into spears which aimed at the beast. Before it could react, the man impacted the spears with his hammers, sending them flying at high speeds toward the beast. Each of the spears pinned one of the tentacles against the rocks, forcefully holding down the beast. It cried in pain, which went ignored by the two men with white skin, the smaller of which approached it, holding his right hand in front of the beast. Wisps of chakra were slowly pulled from the beast with 8 tails, being absorbed just like the attack. It seems the fruit in this one was fragmented. Perhaps that was why we felt so many resonances with the tree. Shame. I might have to soil my garments for this one. The weird stranger with white skin slowly drained the beast of its power, causing it to lose some of its size. When he seemed to have had his fill, he pulled away. Now in his hands were what seemed like pills, each one highly dense in chakra, though he seemed disappointed. Only 4. Disappointing. Despite his words, the man downed the pills, and the effect was instant, the air around him being covered with the sheer weight of his chakra. Guess I'll leave you with a parting gift. Just from me to you. The man held out his left hand, and another eye was on it. From this one, chakra poured out, solidifying and spinning into itself. What was created was the same ball attack that the beast had created, except that this one grew in size, first doubling the original attack, then tripling and going even further. In no time, the attack was nearly a mile wide. The man pushed the attack forwards, impacting the beast and creating a large explosion, which turned the world white. Thank you all for indulging yourselves in all this information thus far. I hope you enjoyed it. Now, there are a few more things that I'd like to go over before the video ends. Firstly, if you're in the mood for some great storytelling, We the Celestials has got you covered. Our We the Celestials My Hero Academia and Naruto What If channels retell the story of their namesake anime with a twist. Check it out if you're interested. Secondly, on behalf of We the Celestials, I'd like to thank everyone involved in the production of today's awesome content. Their details can be found in the description below. Lastly, if you're interested in what we do here at We the Celestials, then I'd like to extend you an invitation to join the team. The only caveat being that we only accept members from 16 years and up to join our crew. You can sign up for whichever category fulfills your interests by joining the recruitment Discord using the link in the description below. We're always looking for members to join us. Well, that's it from us for today's video. So thank you all for watching, and have a great day.